Welcome back everybody. Just a quick forward before the video. On the video you'll see I'm mentioning the tanks, and I'm not sure if they are still for sale, available for manufacturing. Thomas Eich got back to me and the tanks are still available through Omega Fibre. It's at the time of this video it's 16,000 Rand for a set. Well worth it. I've had them on now for 100 k's full tank, and I must say I feel the weight a bit. At some stage it bottomed out, but obviously I'll have to check and adjust the recoil on the springs. But yes, very good quality. If you can get yourself a set, buy them and sit back, subscribe if you enjoy the content. It really helps us out a lot, and enjoy the video. Welcome back everybody. Right, auxiliary tanks. It's proven to be a bit more difficult than just basic bolt-on. The piping that we're using and the T-pieces, I think the T-pieces are a bit too thick. I'm going to get thinner ones. I'm scared it will tear the hose. But the thing that I want to quickly talk about here is different people have different opinions on mounting these tanks. Now you must remember the 990 has 4 tanks. One tank, second tank, the auxiliary 1, auxiliary 2. This whole portion becomes a tank. And that means you have 4 separate on and off fuel taps. Right, so the difficulty that I found, and there is no manual that says how you connect them. Obviously I just plumbed them in onto the main line, which works great, but if you leave all 4 taps open, your tank floods in the back at your main stand. And all that I can think of is that my tank caps are not sealing properly. Some people talked about plumbing the second tanks in, then plumbing it up above the radiator and going down again. But for me it makes no sense, because if you have a level of fuel and you plumb it up to the radiator, the piping, and then back, that piece there, so I mean gravity will feed but only up to here. So if your pipe goes up, it won't be able to completely drain empty due to the fact that gravity is going upwards. So that makes no sense to me. Obviously I wanted to plumb it so that it stays clear from the exhaust completely, hence the pipe route on this side going down just in front of the bash plate. I'm going to stick to that route. I'm just going to get different T-pieces. The T-pieces that I've got here are just a bit too thick, and they will eventually just tear the line. I don't want to stick around and wait for that. So the original line comes from here and goes up to the tank on this side. That works as a standard, no problem. Fitting the tanks, they are a bit stiff. Some people say loosen the fairing. I managed to get them both in, no hassles there. A bit of a mission, but I think at the moment I'll go buy tomorrow morning the additional T-pieces and do another video on that. It's just a bit challenging at the moment. For me the problem is keeping all 4 tanks open, which is causing a flood at the moment. So I'm really thinking that my fuel caps on the original tanks don't properly seal. It means there's air going through, so the gravity can feed air through the back and then flood. So I think first let me deal with the T-pieces tomorrow morning. plumb that in, again fill up, and then see what I can do on the tanks on the top. I mean, these tanks are, Omega sold them, they're not readily available, they're quite scarce. If you can get a hold of a set, buy them. I mean, it's really, you won't get another chance of buying it. But yeah, let me struggle on tomorrow morning with this one and finalize that. I really was hoping that we could finish the video, get it done and it's sorted. You know, you would think things on YouTube or things on TV look so easy to do, but you don't know what really happens in the background. There are two challenges at the moment, and let me overcome them, and I'll do a video and let's get the result that it works and we can actually have all 4 taps open simultaneously without flooding anything. But yeah, cool. Let's take the video tomorrow morning. Carry on from there. Cheers, everybody. Welcome back, guys. So day 2 of the auxiliary tanks installation. Another day, another job. The first thing I want to say is if you tackle anything, break it down in jobs. I did it with the 990 service. Break it down in jobs. First, do one tank, do the other tank. The nice thing now is we managed to get a hold of instructions from the OEM that actually built the tanks. But I'll talk further at the end of the video or somewhere, the detailed instructions, and obviously the property belongs to them. But I've installed it incorrectly. I've routed my pipes completely wrong. Hence, it may have been due to the overflowing of the tanks. There's a certain method behind the madness on how which ones you fill first. What do they recommend? What do they not recommend you do? I went out and I bought different piping. I bought different T-pieces. I'll put all the detail in the link description. It might seem that there's a chance that these tanks will be available. I'm not sure. I'm still waiting for an answer from Thomas. But I'll put it in the link in the description. Hopefully by that time I'll have an answer. Well worth the money. Bit costly. I remember they were costly at that time. But now, this is one thing I want to talk about as well. The quality of these tanks is superb. It's really, really awesome. The build quality is excellent. The fact that they use OEM tanks, taps, yes, it adds to the costs. Certain things, it's carbon fiber, yes, it gets expensive. But you must remember, you get an additional 150 kilometers range. And then these things go on reserve about 220, 240 k's, depending on how heavy your hand is on the throttle, which usually is always heavy. You can't ride them slow. But 250, an additional 150 kilometers of range, it's a no-brainer. It's awesome. So I've installed the piping correctly now. In the instructions it will tell you detailed how you go about it. Now I must say the T-pieces that I got are 8mm T-pieces from Ardendorf's. The piping I got is from an hydraulic place. The original pipe, inner diameter 7 mils, outer is 12, so this is the closest I got, a 7.4. The T-pieces fit in perfectly. Make sure you buy a new set of clamps. I've used 2 T-pieces on this installation, a bunch of clamps, and the previous mistake I did is routing it down on that side where it has to come in on this side and plumb down at the bottom. I'll take a bit of detailed pictures. but I will certainly put up the installation description. I'll go through it on screen later during the video, so that you can make sure that you actually do it properly. Now, a lot of people might not have these tanks available and think, oh well, but once you have them and you make use of them, they're really a charm. I just hope that they make them available for sale again, and I hope people see the value in the range. Yes, it's costly, but let's see where it pans out. I think I need to replace one tap on that side. There's a bit of a fuel leak on that one. I'm not sure if it's on the tank where it fits itself, or is it actually the tap itself. So I've made sure that I sealed up where it fits onto the tank, and I'm letting that dry. No, I did definitely not use any silicone, because petrol and silicone doesn't work together, it doesn't gel. So I'm finishing up. Yeah, I'll put all the detail in and have a look at the instructions. I'll go through them on screen, and if you can get a set, buy them. Just buy it, put it on, and carry on. I wish they made more accessories for the Africa Twin as well, especially on the tanks there. I mean, yeah, it adds weight on the top. Center of gravity is a bit higher now, but if you're doing long ranges, buy them, put them on. Okay, any comments, please ask. If I've routed them incorrectly according to what your specs say, and maybe you have a different opinion, please let me know, that we can rectify it, and then obviously tell everybody the corrective route. But as I said, I got the instructions from the OEM, it should be correct. And yeah, chat further on the next video. Bye bye everybody. I think we should do take 655 for this section of the video. Alright, let's quickly start. If you purchase these or adventure tanks, your adventure time will certainly be going to be increased. Your long range add-on tanks are handmade from carbon composite fuel resistant materials, OEM type valves and CNC machined caps and fixtures. Beware people, flames, open flames, stay away from tanks. You're now working with motorcycle fuel tanks. Avoid all naked flames and any other potential ignition sources, please. Highly flammable. We recommend working in a well ventilated and well lit space. Tools required for this job: 5 and 6mm hex key, 10mm socket tube spanner, side cutter, long nose pliers, number 2 Phillips head screwdriver, and 30mm spanner. Supplied in your kit: left and right side overtime fuel tanks, fuel hose section with T-pieces, 4 hose clamps, 8 short hex bolts, 2 long hex bolts, 3 cable straps. Adventure overtime user instructions herein. So let's get started. What do we need to strip and what do we need to do? Number 1. Place the bike on the center stand and on a level surface. Close both balancer fuel valves located on the inner side of the main fuel tanks. For 950 models, also close the main fuel tap. Number 2. Remove the left and right upper side panels by removing the 5 bolts using a 5mm hex key. After removing the bolts, disconnect the turn signal wire at the junction plug behind the panel and disconnect the fuel tank breather hose from the elbow located at the top of the front face of the main tanks. Number 3. Remove the turn signal indicator assembly from each of the side panels and refit these to the Adventure Overtime fuel tanks. Do this by removing the 30mm nut from the inner of the panel and slide the shaft and wiring outward from the panel. For some 950 models, you will have to open the indicator assembly first and take the wiring inward due to the size of the junction connectors. Number 4. Your original side panels can now be safely stored in the original packaging of the Adventure Overtime fuel tanks. Number 5. By hand rotate the breather elbow of the main fuel tank by 90 degrees to face inward, both. Number 6. Remove the 2 front bolts from the bash plate so that it can hang down using a 10mm tube socket spanner. Number 7. Using a 6mm hex key, remove the bottom mounting bolts that secure the main tanks to the joiner plate. Now remove the two 10mm head bolts from the top of the joiner plate, allowing the joiner plate to be removed, sliding it forward. Number 8. Using the side cutter, cut the balancer fuel line at 80mm from the end connected to the valve of the left main tank. Connect the blue end of the supplied fuel pipe T-piece to the recently cut balancer fuel line and secure it with hose clamps. Number 9. Run the white end of the supplied fuel hose behind the bottom flap of the radiator guard across the radiator and secure it with the supplied cable ties. Number 10. Place the left Adventure Overtime tank in place on the motorcycle and connect the turn signal indicator junction and the breather pipe into the main tank. Replace with supplied bolts. In some cases, loosening up the two headlight bracket bolts could assist with lining up the holes of the tank. Number 11. Repeat step 10 for the right Adventure Overtime tank. Number 12. Use a hose clamp. Connect the white hose end to the valve of the right Adventure Overtime tank. Number 13. Using a hose clamp, connect the red hose end to the valve of the left Adventure Overtime tank. Number 14. Recheck all hose connections and hose clamps to ensure a secure fit. Number 15. Refit the joiner plate, reverse of step 7, and resecure the front of the bash plate. Number 16. Open the balancer valves and the main fuel tap of the 950 models. Inspect for leaks. Number 17. This is the part where you get your helmet on, credit card ready, minimal luggage, and it's go time to ride. An important note: before you ride Adventure Overtime, uses instructions in order to utilize your Adventure Overtime tanks to their full potential. Always practice the following basic steps. When not in use, the extra range and capacity of the overtime tanks, keep the valves of the overtime tanks closed. Don't close your main tank balancer valves. When filling up, fill both main tanks first. Secure both main tank filler caps properly before filling the Adventure Overtime tanks. Then open the overtime tank valves. Important: when all the tanks are full, do not open the main tank caps without first closing the valve caps on the overtime tanks. Always maintain a thin film of petroleum grease on the threads of the overtime tank filler caps. Do not over tighten them. The thing I want to add is that these instructions are the property of Omega Fibre. You can contact them for any further info regarding this product, and I'll put the email address on the screen. But yeah, that is about it. Purchase them, use them, go ride. They're an awesome product. Thanks very much. Bye bye, guys.